Hello F7 financial reporting students. Hope you all are doing well. As I have recorded the complete IAS, IFRS and interpretation of financial ratio lectures on the ACCA Pass Point channel. Now I am going to upload the Kaplan Kit questions. So today we will start with the section A questions. On daily basis, we will try to cover the 5 to 10 questions as well because it will not be beneficial if we rush to the questions. So that's why I have decided to upload the 5 to 10 questions along with the guidance and the revision of the particular topic. Let's start with the section A question number 1. If you open your Kaplan kit, then you will get this question. So the question 1 is about the conceptual framework international financial reporting standards. Now we have question number 1. IAS 16 property, plant and equipment requires an asset to be measured at cost on its original recognition in the financial statement. EW used its own staff assisted by contractors when required to construct a new warehouse for its own use. So EW is a client or is an entity who is going to construct a new warehouse. So we all know there is some kind of construction, and whenever there is a construction, so of course there are some costs associated with it. So the general costs which are included in the constructions are such as site fees, restoration fees, labor fees, material fees, legal fees, and other kind of fees. So which we have to identify which cost should be capitalized and expense out. So now identify whether the cost listed below should be capitalized or expense. First, we have clearance of the site prior to commencement of construction. Clearance of the site prior to commencement of construction means before starting the construction, you have to clear the site. Professional surveyor fees for managing the construction work means this is the fees of the expert of the professional surveyor. EW's on staff wages for time spent working on construction. These are the on staff, the employees for which PW is using on the construction are proportionate of EW's administration cost based on staff time spent. This is the proportion of EW's administration means admin cost based on staff time spent. So now you have to pick which cost should be expense and capitalized. So how you guys can pick and decide which cost should be capitalized and expensed out only if you have a relevant experience. In the start, I have mentioned that in the IAS 16, there are some costs which should be capitalized and expensed out. If I talk about the repair and maintenance, costs which are directly attributable to the plant means PPE should be capitalized. Also, the cost which enhances the user capability or the usage of the assets are also capitalized. Then rest of the cost which should be expense out. So in this case, we have four type of cost. So let's go through the answer and decide which cost should be capitalized and expensed out. So the cost one should be capitalized. Why? Directly attributable to preparing the asset for intended use. To capitalize. Why? Necessary cost directly attributable to bringing the warehouse into use. Of course, if you are not going to pay the fee for the professional surveyor, then how the construction work will manage? Capitalized cost number 3. Why? Staff wages directly attributable to construction. This is not a general admin. Why? Part of cost of asset. Cost number 4. Expense out. Why the cost number 4 should be expense out? General overheads cannot be capitalized unless directly attributable. Admin costs are period expenses. So that's why this should be expense out. So this is question number one with respect to PPE. This is the basic question in which the examiner gives you the cost. So you have to identify which cost should be expensed out and capitalized. I am again repeating before moving to the question number two. As per IAS 16, property, plant and equipment, any cost which is directly attributable to the PPE or increases the or enhances the usage capability of the particular asset should be capitalized. Then remaining costs such as repair, maintenance or other costs should be expensed out. Now, question number two we have about the, okay, this is also about the property, plant and equipment along with IAS 37. On 1st July 2004, experimenter opened a chemical reprocessing plant. The plant was due to be active for 5 years until 30th June 2000 X9. Means from this date the plant was due to be active for 5 years. When it would be decommissioned, so the decommission should be done at 30 June 2009. At 1st July 2004, the cost of decommissioning the plant were estimated to be 4 million in 5 years time. So it means the cost of this the cost of the decommissioning is 4 million. So we have to, sorry guys. So now we have to calculate the present value. This is the future value on 30th June 2009. So now we have to calculate the present value. We all know how to calculate the present value. 4 divided by 1.12 is the interest rate. And for the power which we use is 5. Why 5? If you can calculate from 1st July 2004 to 30th June 2009 is take 5 years. 2004 to 2005 1 year, 5 to 6 2 years, 6 to 7 3 years, 7 to 8 fourth year and 4 to 8 to 9 is 5 year. So from the fifth year you have to reach to the first year, so it that is why you have to use the power 5. So how will you calculate the present value? 4 million divided by 1.12 raised the power 5. Also, experimenter considers that a discount rate of 12% is appropriate for the calculation of a present value and the discount factor at 12% for 5 years is 0.567. So in this case, the examiner also gives you the discount factor. So it's easy for you. You just have to multiply 4 million with the 0.56. You will get the present value at 1st July 2004. Now, what is the total charge to the statement of profit or loss? The examiner mentioned the total charge. So, of course, there are multiple charges, not a single charge. That's why the word total is very important. What is the total charge to the statement of profit or loss in respect of decommissioning for the year ended 30th June 2005? A, B, C, D. Let's see the answer. Now working IAS 37 and IAS 16. So first you have to calculate the present value. Present value of decommissioning at 1st July 2004. 4 million is the future value. Multiply by the discount factor. You will get the 2268000 present value. Now recognized as a provision. Why? Because it's a decommissioner. It's related to future. So the entry is PPE debit, provision for decommissioning credit. Look, this entry you have to make. So PPE debit, provision for decommissioning is credit. So now it's your PPE. So it means you should have to depreciate it. And how will you depreciate it? The life is 5 year. Now, from 1st July 2004, you have to depreciate it till 30th June 2005, so it becomes 1 year. So double 268,000 divided by 5, you will get the first year depreciation. This is the one charge. Now there is an additional charge. And the additional charge is the unwinding of discount, mean interest cost, finance cost. Why? Because it's a provision and on the liability, You have an interest rate, so you have to pay the interest cost as well. Also, you guys can ask a question why we are going to pay the interest, because this is the present value. So in order to unwind this present value, this discounting, you have to take this figure to the 4 million. So how will you calculate or take this figure to the 4 million? By adding the interest component in this liability. Now depreciation over 5 year, 2268,000 divided by 5, 453,600. Point number 4, unwinding of discount finance cost, 2268,000 multiply by 12% equal to 272,160. So the total P&L charge for the year ended 30th June 2005, 453,000, 453,600 is from the depreciation and 272,160 is from the finance cost. So the total is 725,760. So the answer is option B, because in the option B we have 725,760. Okay, now guys, you may have a question in your mind that what is a decommissioning cost? So the decommissioning cost is the expected cost of dismantling, removing and restoring a site or an asset at the end of its useful life. Let's go through few examples. Let's say cost of dismantling means an oil rig or nuclear power plant. Means you have a machinery and you are going to dismantle it at the end of its useful life, or you are going to remove it or restore it at the end of its useful life. Like let's say you have a land and on that land you have done with the mining. So of course after mining you will restore that land. Now you have a machinery from XYZ location. Now you are going to shift your warehouse from XYZ to ABC. So you are going to remove your machinery and returning a site to its original condition. We all know the initial recognition and the subsequent recognition in IAS 16. The initial recognition as per IAS 16 is the cost model, and the subsequent measurement is the fair value revaluation model, in which if there is a gain, that gain will be reported in OCI. Also, if there is a loss, then we have to check either we have the previous gain related to the revaluation. If we have the previous revaluation gain, then the revaluation loss will be offset against that gain, and the remaining portion will be reported in OCI as a loss. Let's say last year you have a revaluation gain of 50. This year you have a revaluation loss of 30. So it means your revaluation gain is higher than the revaluation loss. So your revaluation loss of 30 will be offset by the last year revaluation gain of 50. So now the remaining, the net revaluation gain is 20, which will be reported in OCI. Now what if you have a revaluation gain of 30 and this year you have a revaluation loss of 50? Again, you will offset the 30 gain by this revaluation loss of 50. Still, you have 20 revaluation loss. That revaluation loss will be reported in OCI as a revaluation loss. So, in a concise way, I am again repeating, dismantling cost means you are going to shift or restore or remove. Now, there are two models, cost model, revaluation model. There is an important tip for you. If the company decides to value one class of assets on revaluation model and the other class of asset on the cost model, this is incorrect classification as per IAS 36. Why? Because IAS 16 specifies if an entity decides to measure or classify its assets on revaluation model, then entire class of assets should be valued as per fair value revaluation model. If an entity decides to measure its asset at cost model, then the remaining means entire class of assets should also be measured at the cost model. So this is for the PPE IAS 16. Let's check the question number 3. So the question number 3 is, yeah, it's again about IAS 16. An entity purchased property for 6 million on 1st July 2003. The land element of the purchase was 1 million. The expected life of the building was 50 years and its residual value nil, means no residual value. Now there is an important point for you. An entity purchased property. It's not written building, it's a property. Property means land and building. An entity purchased property for 6 million. So the total value of this property is 6 million on 1st July 2003. Now the breakup of this property is given. The land element of the purchase was 1 million. So out of this 6 million, 1 million is related to the land. Then the remaining 5 million is related to the building. Now we all know land should not be depreciated, building is. So we will depreciate the building over the useful life, which is 50 years. The expected life of the building was 50 years and its residual value is nil. On 30th June 2005, the property was revalued to 7 million. Again, the important word is the property, mean the revaluation is related to the entire property. So you do not need to compare this 6 million with this 7 million, because in this 6 million there is 1 million related to land which never depreciate, and remaining 5 million related to building which is a depreciable item. Now, the total revaluation related to the property is 7 million. Again, there is a breakup of which the land element was 1.24 million. So this 1 million should be compared with this 1.24, and the building was 5.6 million. So the building cost is 5 million and the fair value at 30th June 2005 means after 2 years is 5.76. So you have to depreciate the building by 2 years. Then at the end of the second year, you will compare the carrying amount with the fair value, and there might be a revaluation gain or loss. On 30th June 2007 means after revaluation on 30th June 2007, the property was sold for 6.8 million. Again, the word is property. What is the gain on disposal of the property that would be reported in the statement of profit or loss for the year ended to 30th June 2007? Means this date accounting you have to done. So there are four options. Let's start with this solution as well. First, we pick the building because in the building we have to do the extra work. So the cost is 5 million on 1st July 2003 because the total value of the property was 6 million. So out of 6, 1 million related to the land. So the remaining 5 million is the building cost. 2 years depreciation is 2 lakh. How 2 lakh? 5 million is the total cost divided by 50, the life. 2 years depreciation. So I have written the 2. So this is the 2-year depreciation. If any student want to calculate the per year depreciation, then the per year depreciation is 1 lakh. Then you have a book value at the end of 30th June 2005, 4.8 million. At the date, the fair value of this building is 5.76 million. So of course, there is a revaluation gain of 960. This is the balancing figure which will be reported in OCI. But the question asks you to tell me the reported in the statement of profit or loss. So the revaluation gain or loss has nothing to do with the P&L item. Now we have fair value. Fair value is 5.6 million. This one, okay. So this one will further depreciate it 2 years in order to reach at the disposal date. Fair value of 5.6 million again depreciated 2 years to 40 lakh. How to 40 lakh? 5760 is the fair value divided by 48. Why 48? Because 2 years depreciation has already been performed in the first 2 years. So now the remaining life is 48. 48 multiplied by 2 because we are again calculating the 2 years depreciation. So 5.6 minus 240, you will get the book value on 30th June. On this date, the disposal has done 5.52 million. Still, you cannot compare this book value with the disposal proceeds because the disposal proceed was the overall property. Now work for the land. Cost 1 million, fair value 1.24 million. Again, repeating, land is not depreciated. That's why we just compare it. Revaluation is 2,40,000. This is the OCI item. Land value is 1.24. Again, land is not a depreciable item. So on the 30th June 2007, the value is still same. Now the building value on 30th June 2007 is 5.52 million. So the total value at the 30th June 2007 is 6.76 million. Now the disposal proceeds is 6.8 million. So of course there is a gain of 40,000. That's why the answer is A, 48,000. Hope you guys are getting it. Now guys, we are done with the PPE questions. Now we will start with the grant IAS 20 government grant question. Before starting the question, let me give you an overview of IAS 20. So in the IAS 20, government provides subsidies grant to the entities. There are two kind of grants: grant related to income and the grant related to asset. In the grant related to income, government specified that I will provide you this much percentage or this much amount of the grant if you are hiring or continue with these specific employees for a certain period of time. And if the entity continue with this condition, then only the entity can recognize the income from this grant. Otherwise, if the entity does not continue with this condition, mean the condition is not completed or breached at any point, then from that date the grant should be reduced and all the income recorded by the entity should be reversed, means reversal of income is a loss. Now grant related to asset. Let's say the entity A is going to construct a building and the government offers a grant of 20 million out of 100 million. Means the total cost of the construction is 100 million and out of 120 million is the grant which the government has provided. Again, the condition is that the building should be constructed within 5 years. Again, repeating that the building should be constructed within 5 years. Now, building life is also 10 years. Again, the condition is that the building should be constructed within 5 years and the building life is 10 years. So, entity constructed the building within the specified terms given by the government. So, it means the entity should recognize the grant and the grant should be amortized over the useful life of the building, not the grant term. Okay, let's solve two questions for your better clarity. Question number 4, a manufacturing entity receives grant of 1 million towards the purchase of a machine on 1st January 2003. The grant will be repayable. Repayable means the payment will be made if there is a condition. If the entity sells the asset within 4 years, means if the entity sells the asset within 4 years, then this is the breach of the condition and the entity A will have to repay the grant. But there is something mentioned that which it does not intend to do so. It means the entity will not breach this condition. So if entity will not breach the condition, so no need to repay the grant. The asset has a useful life of 5 years. Now the grant condition is to keep this asset for 4 years, but the asset useful life is 5 years. So I am again repeating that the grant should be amortized over the 5 years. Now, what is the deferred income liability balance at 30th June 2003? Now, guys, in this question, in this type of question, you have to be skeptical because there is no option. So, you have to calculate the relevant and correct answer, as there is no point to guess your answer. Now, grant entry. The grant entry is bank debit deferred income credit by 1 million. On this date, the date is 1st Jan 2003, you will get a grant. So you made this entry. Bank debit deferred income credit 1 million, 1 million. Now you have to amortize the grant, because at the life of the asset, which is 5 years, you will record the income over the 5 years. Now amortized cost. Deferred income debit P&L credit, because your liability is reducing, so the reversal or the reduction in the liability is your income against the liability. If your liability is reducing, it's your income. Deferred income is the liability which is reducing. Why? Because you are amortizing it. So deferred income debit P&L. P&L is your income credit by 1 lakh. How 1 lakh? 1 million is the total grant amount, 5 is the useful life. Now you can see the grant date is 1st Jan 2003 and the reporting date is 30th June 2003. So it is 6 months. So 6 divided by 12, 6-month income should be booked in the P&L. Now deferred income. The question asks you to the deferred income liability balance at 30th June 2003. Deferred income 9 lakh. How 9 lakh? 1 million is the total grant amount and you have amortized it 1 lakh. So the net amount is 9 lakh, which you should spend for the next 4 years. Now guys, sorry, next for the 4.5 years, because 6 months balance have been amortized. Now, question number 5. On 1st Jan 2001, Stay received $1 million from the local government on the condition that they employ at least 100 staff. So this is grant related to income. 100 staff each year for the next 4 years. So there is a condition of the government that if the staff continue or employ at least 100, at least mean it should not be less than 100, it should be more than 100 but should not be less than 100, at least 100 staff each year for the next 4 years. So this is not a single condition, there are 3 conditions. At least 100 staff each year for the next 4 years. Okay, due to an economic downturn, means economic downturn, the economic condition is not well, and reduced consumer demand on 1st Jan 2002, mean after 1 year of the grant date. Stay no longer needed to employ any more staff. Of course, if the economic downturn is declining, so you no need to hire or continue with the employees. There should be redundancy, there should be layoff. Stay no longer needed to employ any more staff, and the conditions of the grant required full repayment. Full repayment means you have to repay the entire 1 million. This is the very important line, please highlight it. Now there are 4 options. What should be recorded in the financial statement on 1st Jan 2002? The keyword is financial statement. It means a statement of financial position and statement of profit and loss. Now grant entry, again you have to make the grant entry bank debit deferred income by 1 million on 1st Jan 2001. Now the term is 4 years, so you have to amortize your grant over the 4 years. So amortize the grant deferred income debit P&L credit by 2,50,000. How 2,50,000? 1 million is the entire grant amount divided by 4. 4 is the term. Now guys, now you are at the second year. Again repeating, you are at the second year. So the net value at the start of the second year, means on the 1st Jan 2002, is 7,50,000, because 1 million is the entire deferred income amount, deferred liability, and you have already amortized 250. So the net amount is 7,50,000. Now, in the start of the 1st Jan 2005, you did not meet the condition. So, if the condition did not meet, of course, you will have to repay the grant. Now, reduce the grant. Reduce the grant means you have to remove the grant. So 750. Why 750? Because 1 lakh, 1 million is the entire grant amount and 250 already booked as an income. So reduce the grant by 7,50,000 and reverse the year one income, this income, 2,50,000. So you have to make two adjustment. Let's see if there is any option in the, yeah, this is the option B. So the answer is option B. Why reduce deferred income 7,50,000? Why not option A? If you are going with the option A, then you are not recording the loss related to the income which you have booked in the year one. Or if you are going with the option C, then you are overstating the income, means you are not recording the loss, so it's an overstatement in the SOPL and SOFP as well. Now if you are going with the option D, then it is against the, again repeating, it is against the requirement of IAS 20. So the option D is out of the IAS and IFRS requirement. Now you are just left with option B, and the option B is correct. Why? Because you took the grant on 1st June 2001, 1st Jan 2001, and you amortize it by 2,50,000. So the net amount is 750, and on 1st Jan 2002 you are not meeting the condition, so you have to repay the grant. That's why you reverse your grant. Now let's see if there is any other question or not. Okay guys, so now we are done with the 5 questions. I am again summarizing. In the first 3 questions, we solved about the IAS 16. IAS 16 is the property, plant and equipment in which we use two models, cost model and fair value model. Cost model is the initial recognition, means once you acquired or purchase the assets, you record it over its cost. And if the entity wants to move to the fair value model, revaluation model, then it's better to revalue or to classify all the class of asset to the revaluation model. It's not an option for the entity to classify or to measure half class of asset over the cost model and the half class of assets over the revaluation model. It is against the IAS and IFRS. Now there are some dismantling, decommissioning, restoration and restructuring cost. If there is any kind of cost, you have to record the present value. The entry should be PPE debit, provision credit, and the PPE should be depreciated and the provision should be unwind. Means you have to apply the interest percentage, and the interest is your expense which is recorded in the P&L. Now, if there is a revaluation, revaluation is the OCI item which never ever goes in P&L. So only the disposal gain on disposal or loss should be recorded in P&L. After that, we solved 2 or 3 grant related question. Grant is the IAS 20. There are 2 kind of grants: grant related to income, grant related to asset. The condition of the grant means the condition to recognize the grant is that the entity has a reasonable assurance that the entity will continue or will meet these conditions. If the entity will not able to meet this condition, then the entity should not recognize the grant. So guys, that's it for today's class. We will meet in the next class with the next questions as well. If you have any questions, you guys can comment down. I will try to solve your queries. Also guys, in today's class, we will solve 2 standard questions. The first standard is IAS 16 and the second standard is IAS 20. I personally feel most of the students face difficulty in IAS 20. So that's why I have already uploaded a detailed video lecture on IAS 20 on the ACCA Passpoint channel, which you guys can easily watch it from the ACCA Passpoint channel. And this lecture file will be uploaded in the Drive link. Don't worry, I will share it with you. So to take care and best wishes.